Was it the Great Lace, or was it a Great Waste? I'm gonna be sniffling a lot. I'm sick. I don't know. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Welcome back, Film Nation, to another episode of OK Bloomer. This is once again a trip report. This time we are focusing on the Great Lace in Chicago. Took place the last weekend of March, which as of recording this was last weekend. So I'm actually getting to things a little bit faster this year. Don't hold me to it. It's not going to stay, all right? I've got too much going on. So what is the Great Lace? The Great Lace was a 2-day event put on by a new event coordinating group calling themselves Illinois. Amazing name. It was to take place over 2 days in the heart of Chicago at the historic Palmer Hotel. They had day one be the usual vendor hall with even some select panels. And day two was to focus on swap meet, fashion show, tea party, as well as some additional panels. I first heard about the Great Lace in 2023, I believe is when they started advertising it. I can't exactly remember when. I feel like it was probably potentially March or April of 2023. I remember hearing about it. I think I saw some Facebook ads. Yeah, I'm still on Facebook. I'm sorry. All right, I'm trying. I'm working on it. It's hard. When you mod a com and they're still on Facebook, you still have to be on Facebook. It's fine. Anyway, I saw an advertisement for it and went, oh shit, finally an event in Chicago I can attend. Because for years and years, the old guard of Chicago, as I think of them, the Chai Goth Lolitas, they had their Midwest mega meets for several years, and I was never able to go because I was unable to get the time off work, or I just didn't have the money. And of course, Chicago is sort of a landmark city for current state of the fashion community because it was where we first started to see a lot of fashion shows being brought in as part of anime convention programming with ASEN. They're big fashion shows that featured both indie and Japanese designers. Moss Badger, the indomitable Jordana, she is a Chicago girl. Lolita Collective got its start in Chicago by Emma Batari, and that was a way to sort of offset the cost of vendor booths while having a multitude of Lolita and JFashion artists able to get a hold of that space. In my opinion, Chicago and Illinois are pretty important to the history and state of Lolita fashion as we know it today. It's where a lot of things that we now think are commonplace sort of got their start, and it's sort of how the community as a whole sort of rippled outward from that location. I first heard about Great Lace in March of 2023, and I was really excited because it was like finally like a Lolita fashion event where I wouldn't have to drive over 10 hours or fly there to attend. So I was very excited. I started getting a group together in our comm and said, all right, who's down? Who wants to go?
We're putting the band back together.
And tickets were not going to drop until January 15 of 2024. And tickets were fucking pricey for this, which makes sense because it is the historic Palmer Hotel. So, and we were also essentially renting their venue space for 2 days, so that does come at quite the premium. They were able to secure a hotel block. There was kind of a lot of issues with this con, like most just growing pains for the coordinators. The hotel block, there was an issue because they were trying to do the block for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night. Initially, it was only Friday, Saturday. They had to halt the block and get it reworked and get a new contract with the hotel. They had 2 tiers of tickets. They had the basic bitch tickets, and they had a VIP ticket. They also had 2 tiers from that. So they had an early bird pricing that would drop January 15th. And then they had a too slow skill issue QQ level, which I kind of have a gripe with that, and I'll get to that in just a fucking minute. We were all excited. I got a big group together because we all knew it was doable. Tickets were, let's see, I believe early bird pricing, it was a good deal. I think it was $175 for the early bird basic tier, and I believe it was $250 for VIP tier early bird, and then after early bird it went to $250 for basic tier and $350 for VIP tier. I think it was something like that. Then of course you have to add taxes. So all in all, the tickets at the basic tier for non-early bird were a lot closer to $300. I think I paid $284 in total. Pretty expensive. Not as expensive as Star Trek Las Vegas, of course. However, Star Trek Las Vegas was a multi-day affair. Where, I mean, okay, this was also a multi-day affair, but Star Trek Las Vegas was like basically a week. So $500 for a week versus $280 for 2 days. Oofta. But that's fine. The tickets, the regular tickets got you access to everything on the first day. They got you into the tea party on the second day. They did have single day tickets available as well if you just wanted to do one or the other. And the VIP, it included early access, early lineup for the panels, early access to vendor hall, dealer room, etc., as well as a special VIP dinner for Saturday night. Put a pin in that. So I set an alarm on my phone, and I joined their Discord as well to sort of keep abreast of everything as it was going down. So check that. All right, so it's 2024. All right, let's rewind back a little. And I'm standing in a Burlington coat factory because I need stuff for my Lolita Link cosplay that I was wearing to the Ishokan Winter Bash. I was grabbing, I found like a beautiful, perfect green scarf and a brown men's belt. And I'm standing here in the Burlington and my alarm goes off and I'm like, fuck, it's ticket time. So I put everything down and I go to pay on my tickets and I'm panting because I'm trying to get that early bird ticket because of course early bird had dropped. And I hit, pay, get ticket, and I'm given an error message. And the error message was some shit like, oh, you didn't fill out the nut allergy question. So of course, being vigilant, Illinois did ask, do you have any food allergens or dietary restrictions? And I was like, hell nah, because I don't. There was some hidden part of the form that was required to be filled out, but no one could fill it out because no one could see it. So everyone's like, what the fuck? We're all getting hung up trying to get I was going for early bird VIP. My ass was determined, and we're all getting hung up trying to get this ticket, and we can't. And they're all like, okay, all right, hold on, let us fix something. And I'm a dumbass, and I just kept hitting the refresh button, which when I was hitting refresh on my Chrome browser on my phone, it kept resetting all of the fields. So I would have to sit there and go back through and re-enter all of my info. And unfortunately, by the time the nut error got fixed and I typed everything back in, the only tickets that were left was the basic bitch tier for 2 days. So, and not the early bird. They did a limited pool of early bird, VIP, and basic tickets. Respectfully, that is not how I'm familiar with it working. In my opinion, early bird is when you purchase tickets to an event far enough in advance that you're essentially, helping the event coordinators sort of preload their minimum down payments for the event. And that is why you do the early bird. It guarantees that they have enough to cover their down payments, and it also helps you feel good because then you're like, fuck yeah, I only paid $150 for $200 tickets, that sort of thing, right? But they only did they did it by count. So let's say they only had 25 early bird VIP tickets and 100 early bird regular tickets. So then there were still tickets left, but it was all at regular pricing. And I'm like, that's in my opinion, that's not early bird at that point. That is just fastest gun gets it sort of point. When you do an early bird ticket like that, your early bird pricing should be the absolute minimum that you need to cover everything that you are planning to do for the event. So that should be your absolute minimum for your venue rental, to pay for any contracts with any guests, to renting any equipment, to down paying for the tea party, anything else, any other entertainment, equipment rentals, things like that. Like, that is what your early bird pricing should be at the absolute minimum. It should cover all of that. And then your basic bitch pricing, or your non-early bird pricing, that should just be sort of cream on top. You know, that is how you should budget it. So I was kind of annoyed that I was right fucking there at go time, and I still didn't get early bird because they ran out of early bird. You know what I mean? I could see if I wouldn't have called it early bird. I would have done like a midnight release for select people, like maybe bloggers or things that you did want to come, like influencers, like reach out to Lore, the very talented Marina, other like Lolita or JFashion bloggers of note, to sort of help them drive interest, like, bitch, I got the... You know, I wouldn't have called it early bird, basically, because I was early and I got fucked over because of a nut allergy. So, it's fine. I was like, fine, other people got VIP, and I was like, well, that's fine. I guess I won't get to do the exclusive Saturday night VIP dinner, like, with you guys. I'll just do my own dinner. It's gonna be way better. You know, I got over it. It's fine.
I'm gonna go build my own theme park with blackjack and hookers.
So I was somewhat annoyed with that concept, that I was fucked out of getting VIP tickets because of an error on their end, and then I was fucked out of getting early bird pricing because of how they decided to arrange it. So, whatever. It's fine, I guess. They did also allow people to go on a wait list, so if you did miss a ticket that you had wanted, you could be brought up as eligible for the wait list if someone else dropped out in your stead, or if they were able to open it up to more tickets. They also allowed people to pay in 2 parts for their ticket, so that you weren't having to front load the $200 to $300 whatever fucking dollars right off the bat. You could do it in 2 and 2, so you could do half now, half in 6 months or whatever, which, all right, I appreciated that idea. That's nice to help with budgeting. I did sign up for the VIP wait list, but I never got an email about it. So, like, people dug their claws into that VIP ticket, which I totally get. So it was fine. It wasn't a big deal. And things sort of just, you know, they progressed as normal. We all started to sweat about our coordinates. I'm not sure how many people they originally allotted for in the event. I'm gonna guess, and I'm gonna say 150, because if you're doing a limited VIP exclusive dinner, then you probably don't want to make the reservation for too many. So this is pure speculation, I'm gonna say probably 25 VIP tickets total, maybe like 10 at early bird pricing, and then I'll say 100 to 125 like basic bitch early birds. So that's my guess. It could have been more, it could have been 200, but it was a small number. And as demand grew and as the year went on, they actually did open up more tickets. You could buy a single day ticket. You could buy just Saturday or just Sunday. But as things went on, they did open up more and more full weekend tickets. So that meant that they were adding on to more space, which I think led to some issues down the road, potentially, especially as first years for a fashion event. I talked to the showrunners a little bit, Connor and Allie, at the event, just to see how they were doing and to, you know, talk shop with them. And they did mention that they had worked previously with coordinating events, so this wasn't the most new thing to them. They weren't a couple of 20-year-olds, you know, just going in balls to the wall like, hell yeah, we'll just have a Lolita fashion event. So they did have a background in coordinating for events, so they did have an idea of what they were doing and how to do it. They kind of took everything in stride, and I think it was only 2 of them, like, working on this whole thing, which is insane. When I do our 50-person, like, tea parties for anniversaries, I have a team of 5 fucking people, like 3 to 5 people, because, you know, delegation is power. And it's an important skill to have, is to be able to delegate. And there's a difference between delegating and fobbing off your responsibilities onto others. Delegating is when you specifically see someone and you say, hey, I see your skill set in money management. Would you be willing to act as treasurer and to calculate everything that we need in terms of cost for this event? Versus, you know, I don't want to do it, you do it. So that there is a difference between delegation and just fobbing off. I need a blowing nose. I'm sorry. Alright, just don't look. In the end, I believe in total there was close to 400 attendees for the event. So that is, I believe, both days. I know there was probably some fluctuation between day 1 and day 2, which is, do you know how many people is 400 people? It's a fucking lot of people. Like, my graduating class from high school was around 200. And that was kind of a lot of people. So 400 motherfuckers in full frill. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of space to take up. Incredible. Some of the guests they had Rin doll. She's like a brand model, right? I don't know. Who is she? She's not Kato-san. I do not see it. It's fine. So they had Rin doll as a guest. They also announced Connie, who is the international rep for Atelier Pierrot, and they also had Iris Jeong representing Iris Garden and Hey Nu Lee. They actually were able to get the Lolita Collective to come and set up a booth. Historically, for the last several years, the Lolita Collective has only done a booth at Dragon Con because they got grandfathered into it. And when you get grandfathered into a dedicated booth at Dragon Con, you dig your claws into that fucking booth spot and you hold on to it until death. Like, sometimes I think I'd like to go to Dragon Con, but honestly, I've been to America's Mart with my previous job, and to know that convention takes over 5 goddamn hotels, I can't. That might be too much. That honestly might be too much. That's too many fucking people. So I don't know if I ever could. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know, I work with the public all day, and I can be fairly social when I summon it, but that's still a lot. Anyway, a little bit about the Palmer Historical Hotel, whatever. They were all like, oh, we're the Palmer Hotel, we're historical, we've been in Chicago since, the late 1890s. We invented the brownie. Put a pin in that. So we were kind of hype. It is a beautiful venue. It is a very old venue, which you could kind of tell as you started to take your time and kind of look a little bit closer at things. You were just kind of like, some things had to have been repaired over the years, and it was questionable as to the quality of the repair. It's fine. So then we had to set up our teams for the trip. So I am fortunate in that I was able to room with my friends Charlotte, Sarah, and Elaine. Elaine, of course, being part of the Techo crew from last year. Charlotte and Sarah are both people who have been in the community for a long time, so they're some of the old guard for our community, and they're both great because they're very no-nonsense people. You can rely on them, so I knew it would be a good time with them, and it was going to be very easy. Charlotte, bless her soul, because she's a fucking genius. She booked the hotel room, and she requested, obviously, 2 beds. And she also requested you could do an upgrade for $35 a night extra for 2 bathrooms. And I was like, yeah, I'll pay an extra $35 if it means that, that we're not ass to ankles in a bathroom trying to get ready. Sarah also decided, okay, I will be prepared, and she packed air mattresses just in case, because we are 4 adult women. I am the biggest. Charlotte and Sarah are more on the average to slimmer side, and Elaine is very petite and slim. But it was we're gonna be ass to ankles. I'm a bed hog. I snore. I'm not great to share a bed with. Part of my lore. It's who I am as a person. So Sarah was like, I can back air mattresses that we use for camping. They will work great. So here's our room. Everyone's left except me. So you get an idea of how big they were. We sprung for the biggest room, which actually came with 2 bathrooms, so that was a huge boon. We also had more than enough space on the floor. One of the girls was able to pack, she had 2 air mattresses that she packed, because those are just doubles. And 4 grown-ass women, the other bathroom, in double beds does not work. And as you know, I'm plus size. The rest of the women in the group were petite to average adult American woman size. So it just wasn't going to work. So big thanks to Sarah for packing that. And I learned something about air mattresses this weekend, actually. And this was big brain. So what you do is when you fill an air mattress, you fill it up as much as you can the first round. And then you let it settle for about like 30 minutes to an hour. And it'll deflate a little bit because it is very much an initial like, whoa. And so what you do is after you let it settle for a bit, you come back to it, you test it, and then you inflate it again. And then you can really get a nice firm mattress that doesn't deflate. I've slept on air mattresses a number of times. And every time, even when I was a lot slimmer, that bitch, I was on the floor by the morning. I did not touch floor. My butt did not touch floor in that air mattress. I was so fucking impressed. Like, it actually was not a bad sleep at all. And why did we use air mattresses? Okay, so we got 2 beds, right? We got a 2-bed room. But they only give you doubles. If you're not familiar with bed sizing, you have twin, which is like the skinny. You have the twin XL, which is the college dorm special. Then it goes to a double. So a double basically is a full. They sort of refer to the same thing. So twin XL, double/full, and then queen, and then king, and then there's like California king, Alaskan king, double king, Burger King. We're not going to get into all those. Growing up, I slept on a full-size bed or a double bed. It's good for one person. You could starfish, it's great, blah blah blah. But for 2 grown-ass adults, my fiance and I used to share that full-size bed in college. No. Even if you're not a destroyer of worlds, it's not enough space for 2 grown adults. So that was bullshit. That was honestly kind of bullshit. Like, you mean to tell me... And with the room size, it was a generously sized room. It was bigger than a lot of hotel rooms I've been in. But you couldn't have fit 2 queens in there. And it was just too small. And that is part of the issue with a historical place like the Palmer Hotel, is that because of its historical nature, it's not really designed for the comfort of the modern person. They have to work with the space they're given. You can do some remodeling, but you do run the risk of, if you go too far, you lose your historical status, which can, get you some E points or whatever the fuck. So plus you would lose some of the ambiance of the space. So it's this sort of careful dance between making sure that it's comfortable with modern amenities, but also preserving the historical nature of the space. Charlotte rented us the room, and we started talking travel, and I was excited. We hadn't been on the train in years. I used to take it a lot when I was in college. My girlfriends and I, we would get on the train to Chicago for spring break, and we'd spend a few days out in Chicago, dick around on the Magnificent Mile, be in the Loop, blah, blah, blah. And it was always, super affordable. Looking into tickets, and I bought mine kind of close to the event, a couple months out, because similar to airplane tickets, it's more expensive the closer you get to your event. So I bought my tickets for a round trip about 2 months out. The plan was to stay the night at my friend Kim's, who I went with her to Nightshade and also to Deco last year. Spend the night at her place, hang out with her cats, because her cats are amazing. And then we would all ride together. Her husband was going to give us a ride to one of the train depots in Michigan, so that we would all basically take over a train car and run wild for the next, not really, but, party hard for the next 6 or 7 hours. And there was 18 of us planning to do this. So it was going to be, it was really exciting. I was like, this is going to be great. And then I had booked a separate ticket to head home back to where I live to arrange for my fiance to pick me up, just so he didn't have to drive a long ass ways. I go to Kim's the night before, say hello to her cats, we hang out. We went to dinner the night before at a place that was it was fine. We went to bed, slept on an air mattress at Kim's, which again did not deflate, so apparently air mattress technology has changed a lot in the last 20 or 30 years. The train left at 9, so we would get there about 8:30, get checked in or whatever we needed to do, and then we would go. So we get up, we're ready to go. It's 8 in the morning, Friday morning. Getting ready to go to Great Lakes, getting ready to go to the train station. I get into Kim's car and I sit in the back seat because her husband was going to drive. She was going to be next to him in the passenger. And Kim was still hanging out in the house for a minute talking with her husband about stuff. And because her car is one that relies on fobs, when you get too far away without your car fob, your car will automatically lock. If you're in the driver's seat, you can still open it and get out and whatever, it's fine. I was in the back passenger seat. And I finally checked my text messages that I'd gotten that morning, and I have 3 from Amtrak. And all of them say, your itinerary has changed. The train is canceled. I freak the fuck out. I'm in the back of Kim's car, and I'm like, I gotta tell Kim she's still in the house. So I'm scrabbling. I'm pulling on the door handle. The door won't open. I keep hitting the window down button for some fucking reason. I'm yelling, Kim, like she's gonna fucking hear me when she's in the house, and I'm in the back of her Honda Civic. So finally, I'm like, yes, look for the unlock button. I hit the unlock button. Her car's like, who the fuck is this? And her car alarm goes off. So Kim finally is like, oh, Denise needs to come back in. She unlocks it. I launch myself out of the car. I go bolting back into her house. I almost kick the door in. And I go, the train's been canceled. And Kim and her husband both stop dead. And she just goes, what? And I'm like, the train's been fucking canceled. The entire train. Not just, we're going to skip this depot, the whole bitch. And this was an hour before our departure. So Kim and I are both like, what the fuck do we do? And finally Kim's like, I guess I'm driving to Chicago. So I immediately have to get on Discord and touch base with everyone. And this is where I will never not sing the praises of my comm, because y'all don't even know. This was nuts. In not even 30 fucking minutes, we had everyone arranged for travel. I think the most we had to do, the way Charlotte tells it, her husband had dropped her off at the station. She walks in, she looks to see what gate or whatever, I'm not sure how station works, and she immediately sees 9 a.m. Amtrak canceled. And she had to call him and be like, bro, you gotta come grab me. And so everyone starts calling each other. Everyone's on the Discord freaking out. Sarah calls me and is like, girl. And I'm like, bitch. And she's like, all right, we have everyone accounted for. We're picking up some people. Who's going to grab Elaine? Now, Elaine's house is on the way to Chicago. So I'm like, I will check with Kim. I'm sure it won't be a problem. I check with Kim. Kim's like, yep, we got room. Which, again, because we were planning to take the train luggage requirements are not the same as airplane luggage requirements. You can pack a lot of bullshit. If you can haul it, they still limit you. They're like, all right, you get 2 carry-on bags because they don't do check baggage. And you get a personal item. So they're carry-on sizes. They aren't plain carry-on sizes. They are your checked luggage carry-on size. So you can have a 28-inch tall suitcase. You can have 2 of those bitches. And then you can have 1 smaller item. So I had our 28-inch tall suitcase. I had a 22-inch tall suitcase with snacks and whatnot. And then I had a big backpack loaded up with my iPad and snacks and drinks and...
Well, good news, everyone. It's the return of the dad cam. This is me packing for Great Lakes 2025.
Now, Elaine and Kim are resourceful, so they had packed a little bit lighter. So we were like, all right, fuck it. I guess we're getting in the car. I have to call Elaine. And I think I have her on my phone now. I need to double check. Yes, because I added her. Which is hilarious because I've known her for 5 years at this point. And I'm like, shit, how do I call her? I texted her first, or I Facebook messaged her, but she's never on the Facebook. I tried through our Discord because she's our Dungeons and Dragons DM. So I was like, Elaine, ho, wake up. And then I'm tagging her boyfriend who she lives with, and I'm like, Thomas, wake your ass up. Thomas doesn't get up at 8 a.m. Thomas goes to bed at 8 a.m. He's not a third shifter. He's just an owl. He's an owl man, which I get, because if I could be an owl person, I fucking would be too. But, so Thomas was asleep. Elaine wakes up to me Facebook calling her. And she's like, what? What's going on? I'm like, bruh, the train's been canceled. And she's just like, what the fuck? And I'm like, yeah, Kim and I are coming to get you.
We're coming to get you, Barbara!
In less than a half an hour, 18 people coordinated, got together, and arranged transport to Chicago for this event because Amtrak fucking biffed it. I think one of the few people who didn't need to worry about that was my friend Rachel, who took the early train. Like, she was on the train at like 5 a.m., which I was like, damn, girl, all right. And then one of our other friends, Gray, he took the super late train. Party hard, I get it. And then Chrissy drove herself, but she lives on the west side of the state, so it wasn't nearly as dramatic of a drive for her as it would be for some of us over on like the east, because you gotta cut all the way across the Palm, and you gotta like dip down in Indiana, and you gotta go slow because the Indiana cops know and they watch for you. And we made it to Chicago, but oh my fuck, like, we at least all were able to get full refunds for our Amtrak tickets. So I did have an extra $100, but of course, because I paid through PayPal, whereas other people paid through cards and got their refunds instantly, mine, like, took 2 days, because of course it fucking did. But it was just, like, something that we didn't need to happen that happened. And there was a bunch of bullshit on the trains back, too. Like, one of the girls was insistent. She's like, I've never been on the train before. I will get my fucking train ride. I will still take the train back. So we said, all right, Godspeed. And she said it was bumpy, they were delayed. At one point they had to back up back to the station and get everyone off so they could do a repair that they couldn't do while the train was running. You can't just have a stopped train on the tracks. And I still could have taken the train home, but Chicago to where I live, I would have been fucked because my train left later than the Chicago to Detroit trains did. Like, the Chicago to Detroit left at like 6 a.m. And my train wouldn't have left until 4 p.m. So if my train had gotten canceled, I would have been fucked over. I would have had to have called in significant favors. So I just said, fuck it, I will just ride back with the girls. That was not the ideal way to start this trip. That was I don't recommend it. And it's so bizarre because to suddenly have all of these train issues, like, it was, and they were inconsistent, and I get, like, our train system is pretty old. It's not the most highly maintained because we're such a car-heavy country. Our passenger train lines are essentially barely have anything, and it's simply because people prefer the independence of cars, and trains don't go everywhere all the time. You have more flexibility with a vehicle. So unfortunately, our train system, our public transport system in general, is just not where it should be and where it could be. It's just not efficient because the fucking auto industry, I'm doing this a lot for this video. There's a lot of claw hands for this video, so just get over it. It's fine. So we finally make it. God bless Kim. I owe that woman at least 2 drinks minimum. And we get there and it's a beautiful fucking day. It's 75. Like, we're opening our coats up, the sun's out, and we're like, all right, you know what? Rough morning, but we rallied because we're a fucking bunch of bad bitches. We got everyone here, and now we can relax and enjoy the weekend. We got checked into our room. Rather, Charlotte and Sarah beat us by a little bit, so they got checked in. Holy Faraday cage, Batman. Like, because of the sheer number of people in the building, the historical nature of that building and being surrounded on all these sides by massive buildings on a Friday, just general, the effect of all of that concrete and metal and plaster, etc., that it was so difficult to get a signal or to get any notifications for messages through anything all weekend. We stayed through until Monday morning, and so it was better by Monday morning because, of course, everyone was gone. But that whole weekend, like, you would message someone, I wouldn't get messages for like 30, 40 minutes. And that was on the hotel Wi-Fi, too. I signed up for the hotel Wi-Fi, and it was just too much. So it was really difficult to get a hold of anyone. But we landed, we were finally able to get a hold of Charlotte and Sarah. We made it up to our room. We were on the 19th floor, and the way the Palmer Hotel has its elevators is 4 banks, and each one goes up to only so many floors. So if you're on, floor 17, you take these elevators. If you're on floor 21, you take these elevators. So it's one of those where you kind of have to go up to go down. We picked up our Great Lace badges. They did provide 2 colored lanyards at the event, so you could have pink or you could have gray. So depending on general theme of your cords. Now, because I'm a fancy bitch, I actually made a lanyard out of like some lace trim I had and an old work lanyard that I cut up, because the pink, I wasn't wearing anything that pink or gray would coordinate with. I might actually start producing them because it was actually really cute and I thought it was a nice, unique way to have my badge. And there wasn't really anything set for Friday aside from that. There was just general like mill about, see other people, greet other people. A lot of people were already like ready to go and dressed up, which I was pretty surprised by. I was like, all right, like I was like, no, if we're riding in Friday, I wore like yoga pants and a t-shirt. I was like, if I'm gonna be on a train or in a car for like 6 hours, my ass is going to be comfortable because that's how I roll. But quite a few people traveled and dressed up, so kudos to them. But honestly, I was pretty tight on suitcase room, so that would not work for me. So Saturday morning was where all the fun began. It's not really a whole lot until the vendors hall opened at noon, or I believe 11 for VIPs. I know Kay from Neon Glass, she had dropped a new item that she's going to be producing, so they're rose corsages or boutonnieres similar to what Moss Badger does. But it was going to have these beautiful fabric roses on there, and then it was going to have one of her iconic glass coffin charms. So she was bringing about 20 of those to the event. And I was like, fuck, there's no way I'm going to get one because, you know, VIP was going to sweep it. And they did. She didn't have any left by the time I get in there. And this is where I think selling so many tickets and expanding their space so much started to show problems, because after getting ready, I didn't really want to do any of the field trips. They left ample time for like field trips to like a stationery store, to museums. They were letting people kind of set that up on their own. I didn't really want to do any of that. I did go to one of the first panels, which was a laundry care panel, which I think was a fantastic idea. There were some great tips. I also learned that there is such a thing as no rinse detergent, which is perfect for if you have things that have to be hand washed, because then you can just do that. You just do your scrubbing, and then you just hang it out and you let it dry, and you don't have to worry about putting it through another rinse cycle to get all the detergent out. So I enjoyed that quite a bit. We waited in line for, I want to say, well over an hour to get into the vendor hall, because of course it was limited. The space only had so much room for capacity, and you had to wait for other people to decide that they were done shopping and leave before more could go in. So it took a long time to do, and unfortunately I did miss other panels that I had wanted to see because I was reluctant to give up my spot in line. The way they did it was they had the vendor hall open for I think like an hour to an hour and a half for regulars, so I believe it was like 12 to 1:30 or 11 to 1:30 if you were VIP, and then they were going to close it for an hour and a half for the fashion show, which was in an adjacent space. It was like a floor. Was it adjacent or was it a floor down? I think it was the same floor as the panels. Yeah, that sounds right. That sounds right, I think. Yeah, in a different space. But because so many of the indie designers who had vendor tables were also in the fashion show, they had to close it all down at like 1:30 or so. So they did closing announcements. They were like, fashion show, we gotta close this in like 15-20 minutes. And from what I understand, the models was that they were basically cooped up for that all day. They got half off on their weekend ticket, but they were sort of trapped into that all day from like 8 a.m. until through the fashion show, which of course ran late. Everything ran late because Lolita Standard Time is a thing. The fashion show didn't end until 3:30, I believe. That was kind of a bear.
The Bears!
It was just, you know, it was just the hiccups of trying to arrange something like this. So we all had to be shuttled out of the vendor hall and go to the fashion show and then shuttled back. And I should have just waited and just done panels and gone to the vendor hall after the fashion show entirely, because it was a lot faster to get in at that point. A lot of people didn't choose to return after the fashion show. They went up to their room for a late lunch or snack or just to set down their goods, things like that. So I do kind of wish that I had held off. And I think the problem was that, so again, because the rooms were had a certain capacity that was a lot smaller than the main tea party room that we ended up having, and they didn't cap those tickets, I think that was a big part of the problem with the slowdown on getting into the vendor hall, because the room capacity, I believe, was rated for around 300 people. And if you have 400 people attending, something like that, then yeah, you're going to have 100 people who can't get in right away and are kind of forced to wait in the wings. It also meant that anyone who had panels during that time, they basically had no attendance because people were either in the vendor hall or they were waiting in line to get into the vendor hall. This was also a compounded problem for the following day, for Sunday, waiting for the tea party and the other panels. And the one thing that they tried to do, but I don't know if it dropped off or if people were just being dicks, but they were trying to tell people, like, hey, when a panel is over, get out of the room, because we only had one panel room reserved. So the idea was get out of the room and go to the end of the line that would be forming for the next panel, so that people who have been waiting get a chance to get into the room. I believe for Sunday panels, like, I get Rin did a panel and Connie from Atelier Pierrot did a panel. People weren't doing that. They just stopped doing that. There was a lot of organization on behalf of guests. Like, I guess there was a meet and greet with Rin, where again, that line stretched really crazy long. And because she didn't have a handler who was right there to say, all right, look, you can't sit here and talk to Rin for 20 goddamn minutes. You have to move along. So there was some coordination and time management issues that were not addressed throughout the convention that should have been addressed. And I do think capacity was definitely one of the issues, and I kind of wish, I think the panel space was only rated to hold 88 people, I believe. I think maybe staggering some things differently would have worked better. But then again, if you're trying to do, I don't know what I would have done different, to be honest. I would have spread out panels more. They were trying to condense everything into a really tight fit, like basically between like 11 a.m. and 4 or 5 p.m. because they wanted to leave people time to like go explore the city, be a tourist, blah, blah, blah. Which is great. I love that idea. But at the same time, it kind of like, it forced everything to overlap so tightly that you were gonna miss something that you'd really wanted to see. Like, I had missed a panel discussing brand prints and designing brand prints and patterns and looking at the layout and looking at the details of them and what sets them apart from quilt and cotton or indie brands, things like that. And I do believe she has posted it online now, so I can go and watch it at least. But it is still kind of disappointing that I spent a lot of time waiting in line for the vendor hall instead of going and doing that. And I wish I would have just said, fuck this, I'll come back later and do that. But the vendor hall, it had a weird layout. The Lolita Collective booth was tiny. Like, it was very small and very claustrophobic for their layout. And they didn't really have a lot. Like, they had stuff, but they didn't have a lot of variety and stuff. Like, I did end up buying a Mezzogram shirt from them, which says Eat the Rich. It's great. I love it. They should have made talks to get a bigger booth space. The fantastic Giordano was there, Moss Badger. I was able to talk to her for a little bit. Atelier Pierrot, Iris Garden, and Harajuku Hearts, which was sort of a conglomerate brand for Pierrot and a few others. They had like almost a whole back wall. They had a shit ton of space. I think they had at least 3 tables. But there was a lot of some spaces that were just like really tight. And there were some spaces that were just, it could have been reworked, it could have been spread out more. And there were a couple of empty tables, which happens, it's not a big deal. Neon Glass, she was all the way in like the back left corner from the entrance. So the entrance here, she was all the way over here. Which I'm like, oh, that makes sense because she's probably going to get a line for her pieces. It was like, when you're trying to plan something out and you start really good in like one section, you're like, all right, there's lots of breathing room. And then you realize you have a lot more shit to kind of compile in there than you thought you did. And now you're sitting here sweating and trying to just like cram everything in and just hoping to God it'll fit right. It felt a little bit like that in spaces. So I do think that the layout maybe wasn't the most conducive to the space. It wasn't taking the most advantage of the space that was given. And for the sheer number of attendees, the volume of attendees compared to the actual room capacity, because you have to remember, anyone helping to watch that space as convention staff and anyone working that space as a dealer or dealer helper, they have to be accounted for in that capacity. So I think being more mindful of room capacity so that there was a minimum wait time would have gone a lot farther into minimizing how much wasted time was spent in line for the vendor hall. I got a few things there. I didn't really get a lot. I'm trying not to buy main pieces until I either get rid of some or magically get a bigger closet somehow. I don't know. So I'm kind of off. I'm on a no buy for main pieces and things right now. And I had some specific goals in mind. Nothing really hit that goal, so that's fine. Oh, I did get some socks from Dandy Puppeteer, which I'm very happy about. I've wanted to support them for a long time. It's hard for me to support them as much as I want to because I don't want to just buy their stuff just to buy it. I want to buy things that go with my closet. She had some of her longer length vertical striped socks available, and so that's what I bought. I bought a red and black pair because a lot of her stuff is very like creepy cute, and I love it, and I love the work she's doing and how very seriously she takes her business. Like she just strikes me as an entrepreneur. And what she does with her Kickstarters and things, like she takes it very seriously. She's very focused on it. It's very much her life's work. It is her career. It is what she is doing. But her stuff just isn't my fucking style. Like, it's great, but it's not, like, she's doing full leather purses. She had those leather and wood platforms. Honestly, I kind of want a pair of the leather and wood platforms, but I can't, I have too many shoes, and I just can't justify more purses. I bought a purse this weekend, actually, so I fucked up, but it was secondhand. It was from Jordana, so it's fine. But so I was finally able to support her in the way that I wanted to, monetarily. I also talked my friend Mina into dropping like $300 on a beautiful leather bag, so sales girl, just don't quit.
Always be closing.
So yeah, that was definitely the biggest bottleneck for that day. And then the VIP dinner, Kim had gotten VIP tickets. However, leading up to the event, there was a lot of maneuvering of certain things. For some reason, they were not able to secure an event space or a reservation for the VIP dinner. So all VIPs ended up getting a $75 gift card to a few different chains of restaurants. I don't know the details on that. I don't know what happened. I don't know if the reservation just fell through or if whoever they had it with just pulled an oopsie daisy and was like, haha, now it's more money because get wrecked, son. I don't know what happened. All I know is that VIPs did not have that exclusive dinner. They were just given a gift card. If someone knows more about that, please drop it in the comments because I was not privy to that discussion. As for me on Saturday, I went out and had Venezuelan food with my friends Aine. She is hosting an event called the Gilded Age in November. I will not be attending because that's going to be right after my wedding, so I'm going to be tired. And also my friend Crayola, or I call her Babs. So I was pretty excited to get and spend some time with them. We usually see each other at things, like we would see each other at Taco, like in passing, and it'd be like, hey, and we'd all be like, hey. And finally it was like we got to sit down and we had some delicious Venezuelan food and we got to gab. And my dish was basically, it was shredded beef, fried plantains, which are like if a banana was secretly a potato, if you've never had them, some rice, and black beans. Now, I fucking hate beans, but I was like, well, you know what? I'm an adult. I'll have a couple. And within 5 minutes, like my first fucking bite of food, a black bean fell off of my fork and onto my fucking light-colored mint blouse because God hates me and wants me to suffer. But I was big brain this year, and I had a fucking Tide pen, and when I tell you that that bitch got the bean stain out of that blouse in 2 seconds... Tide pen. Also now they have shout to go wipes, so you can use it to kind of wipe into something. If the Tide pen just isn't doing it, you need a little bit bigger surface area. Buy those and keep them in your purse. Like, I started handing them out to people because, like, my friend Ray, who runs KCON, I sat with her for the laundry panel, and she was like, bro, I've had this weird stain on Red Angelic Pretty from 2010, which, if you know Red Angelic Pretty from 2010, it bleeds. It bleeds like a bitch. So I'm like, here, try this shout to go wipe. I will have to ask her how it goes. I hope it helped her, and I hope it didn't bleed too bad. So I got black beans immediately on my fucking blouse, and it was just like, God is punishing me for having better hair, so it's fine. That was Saturday. that was it. Was it Sunday that we went out to the bar, or was it Saturday? Yeah, we also went out to the bar. We did a little hangout at Potter's Bar, which was part of the Palmer hotel. We, of course, had a little in-space bar, and it was great because I got to hang out with some people. We all just had like a drink or two. We didn't go crazy. And we just talked about the event. We talked about what brought us here. I think we had the biggest representation of a comm. I think 18 people from Michigan was the biggest representation of a comm at the event. But there was girlies from California. We had people from Canada. We had people from all over the U.S. We had people from the overseas. So we had people from UK. I believe we had a girl from Poland who I immediately embarrassed myself because her cord was beautiful. And I was like, oh, is it Midsummer? Because, of course, it was flowers everywhere. She's like, no, it's like Polish traditional dress. And I was like, sorry. So if by some chance you're watching this, I'm sorry. You looked amazing, and it was beautiful to take in. The kids showed up for this one. My amazing friend Brittany, Magical Muse on Instagram, who we went to Paradiso with, I had put a bug in her ear. I was like, girl, you're going to Great Lace. And she was like, no, what's that? And I was like, so she rolled up. She was in Milky Chan LaFon, whatever the fuck it is. Just me just dragging AP at all times. She was in Milky Chan the Fawn on day 1, which was a sleigh, and then on day 2, that bitch was in Ivory Puppet Circus. Like, if you know, you know. And she looked fabulous both days. I was sad I didn't get to see more of her. That was kind of the whole weekend, was like, I got to see people I wanted to see, but I also didn't get to see enough of the people I wanted to see. And I also wanted to meet new people and talk to them and find out, what drives them to this fashion. I wanted to make new friends. I did make some. And it was just, especially right now with everything the U.S. is going through, like, girl, we're not doing good. We're not okay. We're not okay over here. We're just victims of a couple of madmen who are careening a shitty electric car off a fucking cliff, and they're not even cool enough to be Dukes of Hazzard. There's nothing funny about it anymore. It's not funny. It's not cool. Oh my god, I hate them both so fucking much. God, oh my god. We're not okay. But, the fuck else are we gonna do about it at this point? Am I good? Do I look ridiculous? Oh no, I look hot. Alright. Anyway, let's talk about Sunday. Sunday was the tea party and the swap meet. And there were some panels as well. So they also had a makeup artist guest, Honoka. Again, I don't know who they are. That's why I'm called OK Bloomer, because I'm such a boomer about this, because people are like, oh my god, Honoka and Rivendell, and I'm like, who? Like, I didn't even know the difference between Lovely Laura and Tyler Willis until a year before we were gonna host one of them at a convention. My commates sat me down and were like, start watching this. This is Tyler. This is Laura. Like, I kind of knew who Laura was, but I didn't really know about Tyler. This was pre-Tyler cancellation, so it was okay then still. So, but yeah, so I'm just a boomer floating through, and I'm like, back in my day, we had Mana, we still have Mana, and we had Kana, Moon Kana, who's a pop star or something, and we had Misato. Not Misato, oh my god. Misako. And we still have Misako, because, what is she gonna do? Like, not be amazing? Come on, like, for real. So Sunday was a couple more panels. The swap meet was earlier in the day, and I got up kind of late on Sunday. I slept in a lot later than I'd planned to, and by the time I got up, I had such limited time to get ready before the swap meet. So myself and Sarah, we were both like, yo, do we need to be in Lolita for the swap meet? And they were like, no. And so I rolled down there in a t-shirt and bloomers and my hair done, and I was like, look at me, I look hot, I look fly, let's fucking go. Like, I took casual Lolita to, like, the next level, which I thought was hilarious. But unfortunately, it did mean when I had to run back up after getting quite a few great things at the swap, I had to really, like, speed through the rest of my makeup for the tea party, which was to start at 1:30. Don't have panels overlap with your swap. This was, again, an issue of sort of, like, coordinating things, and maybe, like, a dedicated, more traditional convention space would have been better, and then you just do the tea at the Palmer. we'll get to the tea at the Palmer. Because, again, like, having all of that congested into small spaces, just, it wasn't the vibe. It just, you had people having to wait to get into the swap. We knew we wanted to line up early, especially after the vendors hall fiasco. And I had some free makeup masks for people to borrow for trying things on. So I was able to kind of get into the room a little early and set those out. I didn't buy anything, but I kind of, you do the thing. You do a look. So I looked around a little bit, and then I skittered out. But a lot of people weren't even finished setting up at that point. So we got into the vendor hall pretty early, and unfortunately between the swap and then people waiting for Honoka and Rinrin panels, and also those panels running late, there wasn't a lot of attendance for later panels that people had worked really fucking hard on. And I kind of know one of the people who was hosting a panel that day. You know, they were pretty bothered by the lack of coordination and forethought about arranging panels for kind of a major tea party day. And I have talked before about wanting to introduce panels to Lolita events like this, even if there's not a ton of them. Like, they were pretty picky about it, which I also appreciated, because you don't need a Lolita 101 at this point. Like, at this kind of event, you don't need it. It meant everything was kind of mashed very tightly, and there were people who are kind of getting screwed over by other people wanting to prioritize the main event. So I think Sunday should have just been the tea instead of panels and swap meet and tea, because people were going to prioritize the swap meet and the tea over the panels, which is very unfortunate. Let's talk about this fucking tea. All right, let's talk about it. So, for Illinois did do their due diligence in asking ahead of time about, hey, what are food allergies, what are restrictions, because they knew they were going to have to deal with some very specialized dietary needs, like people with nut allergies, people who were gluten-free, people who were vegan, vegetarian, etc., things like that. And then you get, like, the really odd shit. Like, I know a couple of people who are allergic to pepper, and that makes, like, it's a basic spice, so that adds such a layer of complexity. Like, the Palmer is an event space, so they host events, and they do catered events. Everything was done in-house. At some point, the tea menu changed. I believe there was going to be a regular menu, and then a nut-free menu, and a gluten-free menu, something like that. And the regular menu changed. We were originally going to get a turkey cheddar sandwich as part of the plating, and then they nixed it. And it was, you know, we kind of like, where's my turkey cheddar? Like, bitch, just go to fucking Goth Target and buy some goddamn turkey off the shelf if you're going to be that put out about it. Like, this is me yelling at myself. Not that big of a deal. Everyone get the fuck over it. You can be vegetarian for one fucking meal. Yeah, like, it, you know, it's one of those things where you kick up a little fuss, but in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter that much. So there was quite a bit of fussing with the menu. The tables were also kind of weird. You could pick a table, and they did like something cute where they were like, oh, all the tables are named after, you know, roads in Chicago or whatever. So we picked the Armitage table as that filled up, because there were roughly, I believe, 8 to 10 seats per table. So as each one filled up, you know, you would just have to go down the line to the next one, and they did have a few reserved that were going to be nut-free and gluten-free, so as to minimize cross-contamination. And they were like, hey, we've had to change the menu and drop the turkey cheddar sandwich to make it easier on the kitchen to prepare. Okay, cool. Like, if it makes it easier on them so that things can get out faster, and so that, you know, people who have these dietary restrictions can be accommodated, that's perfect. Not a problem. But something, like, some people had issues where they were moved tables, which, again, was going to be done for people with gluten or nut-free situations. Some people were moved just to be moved. I don't know what really happened there. They were just like, man, my table's different. They were like, you know, just keep an eye on it. And on top of it, when we got into the tea party space at 1:30, there weren't names on the tables. What they had done was they had sent everyone out an email saying, okay, you're at table Armitage, so your table number is 25, which was very confusing. And with all of the reception issues and things like that through the whole weekend, people weren't going to be checking their phones. they were going to be looking for table names. I had checked my phone and immediately, because I have an issue, I have a problem, and I was like, oh, okay, cool, Armitage is table 25. So I kind of knew. I figured it out pretty quick. They had to do an announcement for it. Oh, God, I forgot about the fashion show. I'll get back to the fashion show. They did an announcement about it, like, hey, if you need to know what table number your table name is at, you didn't get the email from us, because there was a lot of issue with, like, emails not being sent, not being received, emails dropping. You know, come and find a staff member and we'll help you. And this is something that when you're planning a wedding, it's something you have to think about too. There should have been a chart or something that just on an easel at the entrance that said, hey, are you at table Armitage? Okay, your table number is 25. Or you know, something like that that's quick and easy that people can read and immediately go. You know, you have a second, like, sign on the table that has the name of whatever you're looking for. Something like that would have been better. And it was interesting because they were using microphones, obviously, so that almost 400 people could hear them. But when we did the fashion show the day earlier, no one used microphone. They had a string quartet, it was great, but there was no microphone use, and no one announced who the designers were for anything. So you kind of just had to guess. So it was like, okay, it's obviously Atelier Pierrot, and then I was kind of like, okay, who the hell is that? Who the hell is that? Who the hell is that? I had no idea who was modeling, what they were modeling, and, you know, were the pieces available? Are they on pre-order? There was no communication about that during the fashion show. It was just people walk out, walk along the stage, pose, pose, pose. So they had the chairs lined up, which when you have giant bonnets and shit, you can't see anything, instead of staggering them off kilter to each other so that you can see in that open negative space between people's shoulders. So there was some weird, and it was really weird because I'm sitting there like, are they not going to announce like who this designer is and what their designs are? They were just like, you just gotta know. And I'm like, no, fuck you. Tell me, because I'm old and I don't look this shit up. Like, because I don't need the temptation. So it was a really weird choice. So the tea party, they did have microphones, which was great. Found our table pretty quickly, and the food was already out. And so that was pretty impressive. Here's the problem. Here's the problem with the food. All right. They had scones, or at least what they were calling the scones. They had croissant. Love me some croissant. They had tea sandwiches. And what they had at our table, they had 5 cucumber on pumpernickel, which I guess is a thing, but it was fucking weird. Tomato, mozzarella, and basil on basic bitch white bread. And then they had 20 fucking egg salad sandwiches. Now, I've got some specific food things, like beans, get the fuck out. Most fish, meh. Eggs, anyway, besides like an omelet or scrambled. Occasionally, I'll do an over easy, but I'm not eating the egg whites because they're gross. I'm just in it for the dippy yolk. I don't eat hard-boiled eggs. And I definitely don't eat egg fucking salad. Whoever the fuck was in the kitchen and planned this out was like, oh yeah, bitches love egg salad. And for some reason, I guess their assumption was that people at the table, everyone's going to get 2 egg salad sandwiches, and then they'll pick either 1 cucumber sandwich or 1 tomato sandwich. No, you know how many egg salad sandwiches I had? 0, because they're disgusting. Because egg salad is fucking disgusting. And it was like that. It was hilarious how the divide was. Like, half the table was like, what the fuck is that? I'm not eating that. And the other half was like, all right, fuck it. I guess I'm eating egg salad and having bad farts for the rest of the day. Like, party hard. On top of it, they had plated and prepped everything so early. I also hate tomatoes. All right, so beans, eggs in most forms, tomatoes. It was just a nice slab of fresh mozzarella. It was at least decent mozzarella. And then their special nut-free basil pesto. Pesto is just basil, pine nuts, and olive oil, and like I think garlic or something ground up. That's all it is. So it's just basil. Bitch, it's just fucking basil. That's all it fucking is that you have on there. Don't tell me it's nut-free pesto, you bitch. So that was smeared on the bread on one side. Then you have your mozzarella, and then you have your nasty... Alright, I like some forms of tomato. Like, Roma tomatoes are okay, but it all depends on context. Like tomato sauce, ketchup, salsa, pizza sauce, bolognese, roasted cherry tomatoes as part of a grilled kebab. That's all good. But just a raw fucking slice of a nasty, cheap-ass beefsteak fucking tomato on basic ass fucking white bread. And they'd plated everything too goddamn early. So the liquid from the tomato slice had soaked into the bread and made it moist. Well, alright, I hate wet bread too, unless it depends on the context. Like, I will fuck up a French dip. It's my favorite sandwich. You dip it into the au jus, but that's like a beef consomme, you know, so it's different because it has flavor and it's done intentionally, and then you have, you know, it's to soften this nice dry crusty French bread. But just, we plated the goddamn half-ass caprese sandwiches too fucking early, and the nasty ass cheap bitch tomato juice soaked into the fucking cheap wonder ass bread, and it's wet again. It has returned to dough form because of all the fucking tomato juice. Gross. You know what I fucking did? I peeled that sandwich bitch in half, so I just had mozzarella and a slice of not a soggy bread with a little bit of ground basil bitch on it, and I grabbed some pepper from the pepper shaker and was like, I'm making my own fucking sandwich today. So I had that. The cucumber was fine. Pumpernickel was still weird, but it wasn't terrible. So I had, I think, one of each of those. And then the fucking desserts. Bruh. Alright, so this goddamn fucking place. And mind, all of my griping about this catering is not on the part of Illinois and the event coordinators. This is all on the fucking Palmer, who, it's on site. I'm digging up Robert Palmer's grave, and we're having at it, alright? I'm kicking his ass. So the desserts, this whole time they're hyping up, they're like, we invented the brownie. We are a god to you. You can buy one of the original recipe brownies for $8 goddamn at our specialty shop. Everyone will get a brownie as part of the dessert tray for this event. Like, we were all hyped. We're like, all right, fuck yeah, we'll try the original brownie. It'll be interesting. You know, a bit of food history, if you will, just to see how things have changed. Mind, again, these tables are sat for 10 fucking people. Guess how many brownies we fucking got? We got 5. And this wasn't like, you know, a brownie where, you know, you're like, oh, you know, you're 3 inches cubed. No, this was a 1 inch, like, pedophore-sized fuck-ass brownie piece. 5 for a table of 10 of hungry-ass Midwestern bitches. There were some other desserts, too. Like, there was little pedophores of, like, a strawberry cheesecake and some sort of coffee layer cake. Was there 5 each of those? No! There was like 3 of one and 2 of the other. There was 5 macarons. There was 5 strawberry tarts the strawberry tarts actually slapped pretty hard. On top of it, we were allowed to choose a tea bag. Bagged tea. I know, right? And we put it in our little fucking mugs, and then the dudes come around with their little carafes of hot water. Alright, fuck yeah, tea. There's cream on the table, there's lemon, there were these actually cute little honey jars, and I kept one, because that's how we do, we didn't even open them. There was plenty of honey jars, but you got 1 tea bag. And they didn't come around again like, hey, does anyone need more tea? Hey, you need another tea bag? Nothing. No, you got 1 fucking tea bag. You did get refills on ice water, at least. I heard from various reports of other tables, some tables, a girl burned her hand on the teapot because she went to grab it and grabbed it by the spout. Like, ooh, girl. So it was too fucking hot. It was scalding the tea. And then on other tables, it was too fucking cold. And it was barely, like, tepid and wouldn't brew the tea at all. And 1 fucking... that was $125 fucking dollars. And you can't even give me a non-nasty, soaked-ass tomato bitch sandwich. Fucking egg sando out the ass. Like, everyone loves egg salad sandwiches. These aren't controversial at all. We gave up turkey and cheddar for this shit? Are you cock fucking kidding me? And that was it. And I was gonna sneak down vodka to the event, and I probably just fucking should have after that shit. So you know what we did? Because we are good, strong Midwestern bitches. We passed around that dessert tray and we said, you know what? We'll divide the brownie pieces in half. That way everyone gets to at least try it and know what it's all about. And you know what it's all about, Palmer House? Your brownies ain't shit. And there's a reason why we changed the fucking recipe. There's a reason why progress exists. You could give us... You could have... I was, you know, with all the arrangement of desserts, I was fine with a 1 inch cube. if there would have been enough for everyone to have their own 1-inch cube, and we wouldn't have to be sitting there like it's fucking some bullshit, carefully trying to calculate, all right, if we each take half, and then we each take half of this, and if we divide these into thirds, everyone gets to try a little nosh. There was literally a girl at our table who liked egg salad, thank God, because I think she ate like 4 or 6 of the egg fucking salad sandwiches. Did I have enough food at this event? I know I'm fat, but like, come on. And that was it. Other tables did not have enough food for their plating. I heard rumors that one of the nut-free tables, there was no nut-free food at that table. Like, they got missed or some shit. People were asking the kitchen staff, like, look, we got too many goddamn egg salad sandwiches because apparently that's what you spent all of our fucking money on because eggs are $5 a fucking dozen. Like, can we get something else? And the staff was like, no. The staff was actually kind of fucking rude. One table was like, oh, no, our staffer guy was great. Like, he was very helpful. Another table girl says, oh, you know, I had a crack in my tea mug and it was leaking. And she kept trying to flag their table guy down. And he finally was like, what? And she's like, my tea mug is fucking leaking. Like, you can't have that out. It's a food safety thing. When you have damaged dishware like that, you can't leave it out. And shit gets missed. There's 400 fucking of us. Like, I had a chip in my water glass, but I was able to point it out and I got a new water glass. So she was finally able to get a new mug, but then the guy just kind of ignored her. And on top of it, when we sit down and we're trying to plate our shit, we had like a big fancy like Palmer hotel plate, and on top of it was a much smaller plate. It's not still a thing, and it shouldn't still be a thing because it's fucking stupid, but some places they call them charger plates. So it's a second plate under your main food plate, and it catches any bullshit and keeps it from staining your tablecloth and your table linens. And our Midwestern brains blanked, and I was like, well, this little ass plate, which looked like a saucer plate, honestly. I was like, this is too small to hold, the food as we're passing it around. So I dumped the food onto the charger plate, and the guys in front of our table got all pissy about it, and were like, no, and like started taking away the unused plates as fast as they could. You fucking idiots, don't you know that's your charger plate that you're not supposed to use? And it's like, how about you just give me a real plate and real fucking food instead of egg salad nightmare? What else happened? I don't know, that was the tea party. They did a raffle, it was great. Blah, blah, blah. I guess I did talk to some gluten-free people. I was like, were you okay? And they were like, yeah, we were okay. But the problem was all the food was plated on the tables, and the gluten-free tables were not isolated, so people with gluten-free needs were just left at the tables anyway, and their plates were brought out separately. But it was an issue because we were given, for the scones and croissant, we were given clotted cream, strawberry preserves, and lemon curd. The lemon curd was a little weird. I don't know what its deal was. It almost looked like pudding. And the problem was someone had used their knife to cut a scone in half and then dipped it into the clotted cream and then returned it to the plate, and so that immediately contaminated the clotted cream for that table. So the gluten-free people, they didn't get their own clotted cream. That was it. So they couldn't try it. It was fine. It's clotted cream. It's fine. The lemon curd tasted fine, but it was just a weird texture. The strawberry preserves were fine. I don't give a shit. But it was just, of all the directions you take for sandwiching, like if it was, for some reason I'm fine with chicken salad I would have been fine. I know it's not vegetarian, so I could have acquiesced. I don't know, but you can make like a nice savory sandwich that's vegetarian. You can do like cheddar and thinly sliced Granny Smith apple. That's a good combination. I'm not good at coming up with vegetarian ideas, but I know there's ways that you can do it. And so it was just an enormous failure on the part of the fucking Palmer House in the catering of this event. And it's like, you're set up to cater to up to 400 fucking people. You should have this shit on lock. Like, what the fuck happened? I ended up cracking a joke later because Portillo's, some hot dog place, I don't know. Look, all right, I don't have a Portillo's. Hot dogs are just fine. But they do a high tea. And I was like, next time we'll just go to Portillo's for the high tea. Because it was embarrassing to have paid $125 goddamn dollars to get 1.5 sandwiches and have to split brownies like Dickensian street urchins. Like, what the fuck, Palmer? It was, I would not do that tea again. if they held the event next year, which they've said they're not planning to, which is legit, I don't mind that. But if they held it at the Palmer House again, I would only buy a single day ticket if they try and do tea at the Palmer again, because that was disrespectful. Like, it is a running joke that you're always hungry after a Lolita tea event. So we were joking about, all right, let's pack up protein snacks, where are we going to hit for the after party for actual food? No, that was bullshit. The Palmer should be embarrassed. Like, just when I picked up that fucking tomato and cheese sandwich and I just felt the bread just like against my thumb, I was like, this is not toward. This is very untoward. The raffle was great. My friend Kim won a petticoat from Puvathel. Puvathel was there. It was great to see her. Some of the Pittsburgh girls. Who else was there? Some of the longtime Chicago people were there. They were wonderful to see. You go for the vibes. That's what you do. You go for the vibes. But Jesus Christ, if I give you $125 fucking dollars, I'm not expecting, a fucking filet mignon and lobster tail. But I am expecting the chef to have 2 fucking brain cells in his goddamn head and not say, we got 1 billion eggs somehow. We're rolling in the egg, buddy, so let's just do that. Bitch, are you for real? Or if you're gonna do that, don't assume everyone's gonna eat 2 nasty-ass fucking egg salad goddamn sandwiches. Fucking assume, alright, everyone gets 1, so that people who want to swap around can swap around and still have enough. Because it was family style, so you pick up the plate and you pass it around and everyone gets what they want, and then you're set. And it just wasn't enough food, which I get, it's hard to estimate how much food to have as backup for 400 people. I don't want to fucking do it. That's not my job. That's not my life. Why wouldn't you plan for, all right, everyone gets at least 1 of every type to make sure there's an adequate amount of food. And if you're gonna hype up your stupid fucking brownie, make sure there's enough that everyone can try a full sample instead of having to sit here and argue over who's gonna get. We didn't argue because we're classy and we're adult women and we're grown and mature and we learned how to share. But, so that we have to fight like dogs in the fucking street over a goddamn brownie square. What the fuck, guys? On top of it, there was a girl who was allergic to cucumbers, and her table got the most cucumber sandwiches. Are you Was this a revenge tour? Were you mad at us about something? Did we do something to you? Did you try to be a Lolita when you were younger and we bullied you out or something, and this was your big plan for revenge? Make them have a subpar tea party. Yeah! Bruh. So, but it was okay because then after that, Sarah, Elaine, and I went out to dim sum, and I'd never had dim sum before, and I liked it. It was girl dinner, but it was Chinese food, so that was perfect. And I was hungry enough for it because Jesus knows I didn't have enough of my $125 fucking dollar tea. And then we drove home, and Kim, God bless, Kim, if you don't watch me, I don't think you do, but I'm gonna message you and I need to buy you a birthday gift or something. Can I get you something? Because Jesus, I need to get you a treat. You know what? You like alcohol. I'll find you something. We'll find something for you, girl. Because I owe you a life debt now. So we drove home, and poor Kim was struggling with a migraine through the whole weekend. We had to give her a couple hours of downtime before we left on Friday because she needed time to let her pain meds kick in. I guess they use heavy perfume or scent in the Palmer, which I didn't notice. I wasn't sick. I just didn't, I don't know. Maybe I'm nose blind or something. I didn't really notice it. I'm lucky in that I don't have a lot of allergies. But she said it was triggering migraines for her and she was having a pretty hard time there. And a few other people said the same thing, that there did seem to be some sort of heavy perfume, or maybe it was the cleaners they used or something, that was just really triggering allergies for them. So she had an on and off migraine all fucking weekend. And this beautiful bitch drove us home with one too. So, and she even went the extra mile because she dropped Elaine off at her house. And then my house was technically just an hour north of Elaine. And then she could swing back down because there's all this fucking construction because it's that time of year. Kim was like, you know what? We won't head back to my place. I will just run up to your house so that I can take an alternate route home and avoid a bunch of construction. And I was like, all right. So I owe Kim something. I need to find out what she has and what she doesn't have, and I need to get her like something nice, like as a gift, as a Jesus Christ thank you gift. So I'll figure it out. She lied. I don't know. We got home. It was uneventful. I unpacked. I vented about the fucking tea to my fiance. Overall, would I go again? Yes, but I need reassurance that I'm not going to get dicked over at this fucking tea and not be served a nightmare-fueled pile of egg salad goddamn sandwiches and wet tomato bread. A Hunger Games. We were literally calling it the Hunger Games at this point. We were like, you know, gotta fight for survival for these fucking brownie pieces. So I think if the tea situation was different, and this potentially may have been a complication of adding more people because they kept opening up more space for tickets. So they were clearly adding onto their venue rental, their capacity. So I think if they had capped it at like 250 or possibly less, but I think 250 would have been a good number, that may have helped the kitchen out. They wouldn't have, you know, gone into an egg panic, and we would have maybe gotten better service and better food all around, and we would have had to deal with these cranky ass waiters. Like, look, all right, I respect the service industry. I work adjacent to the service industry because retail, food service, all of these like menial ass jobs are basically the backbone of this country, and they are the people who make shit happen and make your survival possible. And it is a hard fucking job because it's one of the underappreciated jobs, because people blow it off. They're like, oh, it's just for teens or niche, and you know, like, no, like, it is still a job. You are still giving hours of your life and your physical and mental health and stability to performing this service for these assholes. So it is hard fucking work. And I get it. And I get being flustered when you've got 400 frilly ass motherfuckers storming through your historic ass building. But when you work in catering and when you work for a place that hosts massive events like that, you can nut up and pull a little bit more professionalism out of your dick hole and put it on display for us. And people have bad days. I have bad days. And I did hear at least a couple of tables. Their table guy, their waiter, he was fantastic. He was helpful. He was enthusiastic. You know, he was having a good time. Unfortunately, a lot of them weren't. And again, that happens. We have bad days. I've had bad days at work. I don't know anyone who doesn't have a bad day at work once in a while. You know, because the vibes are just off. And you can't always take the day off to clear the vibes. But, my God, like, you act like we don't deserve to be there. Like, we're not good enough for, you know, the place that can't even shell out an extra 5 brownie chunks after hyping up your fucking food for, you know, however long. I would go again if they would arrange the event differently. Swap meet should be casual and Friday evening or early Saturday morning. One of those two. All right? Should be no dress code, late Friday, early Saturday. Keep your capacity lower instead of trying to sell as much as you can. Cap your capacity at or below room capacity for the spaces that you are renting, so that there is not a line where people cannot get in and it bungles up everything else. Potentially more staff or volunteers, which respectfully, that is the hard thing to get. It is hard to get staff for these events. It's hard to get volunteers for events. Even big name conventions have a hard time getting enough staff and volunteers to sort of coordinate and manage everything. But I do think having someone who can monitor panels and someone who can keep a tight time frame, someone who can act as a handler for your exciting guests such as Rin Rin Doll or Connie from Atelier Pierrot, so as not to monopolize their time, that also needs to be addressed for the future for other guests. So yeah, so that definitely needs to be done, is to think more. And you know what? Let it spread out a little bit. Let it breathe. Like, if people want to leave a panel to go on a field trip, they can. Leave that up to them. But I don't think you need to accommodate as much as you think you do for that event. And I think that was part of the problem with everything getting jammed up. And the field trips were also they were very much like user created, so it wasn't the event staff setting up field trips. It was just saying, hey, we have a field trip channel, so if people want to voluntarily create their own events and set things up, they can. So that was outside of the event. And while it is appreciated that they considered leaving time open for that, they could have left less time open for that entirely. It's somewhere else for tea. Jesus. Like, if I could get just like a swap meet ticket and a dealer hall and panel ticket, I would do that. I wouldn't even bother with the tea again, because that was embarrassing for the Palmer house, frankly. They should be embarrassed. I'm embarrassed for them, because that was just disrespectful. Like, oh my god. But yeah, I would not do that again. It was in sharp contrast to K-Con's tea, which was, it was small, and that was expensive too, but the food quality and the thought, was it a traditional like, oh, a tea? No, it wasn't. But it's okay, because the food that they had there and the consideration for vegan and gluten-free people, with them having their own like separate table for their items, and having the extra food and allowing us to take the extra food with us, which I still think about that polenta at least once a week. They were night and day. They were completely different in terms of handling. And I think a lot of that was strictly down to expanding beyond potentially what the kitchen was really prepared to do. Yeah, things that were good. The fashion show had a string quartet that was playing, which was an incredible choice. Like, that was so smart. I never would have thought of that. And Aine, my friend, actually did help to set up the fashion show playlist. So she helped arrange it for the music, and it was, I leaned over and kind of joked. I was like, they're busting out all the hits. Because, of course, they had Lacrimosa, they had Duet of the Flowers, all the goods, all the good ones. And the quartet was played beautifully, very talented, and I really thought that was an elegant way to class it up and keep from it just being dead silence. But it would have been nice to have had either someone announcing or potentially some way of knowing who the designer was or who the shop was. Because there were some pieces I was like, okay, I kind of like that, but I wouldn't even know where to buy it. And when I asked about it later in the Discord, then Connor was able to start sending out links to like, oh, hey, it was this piece. And I'm like, but why? Well, why wouldn't you tell us at the fashion show? You know, in a way that we could know right away. Instead, we have to ask you after. That's just kind of a big mental burden for someone to take on, and it's a weird choice. I had even cracked a joke about like, oh, you know, maybe they need like ring girls like the WWE or something, so you just need, or like an OG style holding up a card. This is like Atelier Pierrot, Harajuku Hearts, Iris Garden, Hey Newly. That would have been hilarious, I think. But yeah, so there were definitely some good things. Of course, the vibes, seeing the people, seeing the looks, the creative outfits, etc. Like, that is always worth so much on its own. But I really wish I hadn't paid for that fucking tea party, because that was bullshit. And I think everyone should know that it was bullshit. If you like egg salad sandwiches and you were there, you were probably like, fuck yeah, egg salad. But no. Who picks egg salad? I don't know. So, yeah, I would go again with friends. I do think that for a first year, it could have been a lot fucking worse. It could have gone a lot more tits up than it did. I mean, they still pulled it off. They still did a great job. I got to chat with them for a little bit. And this was 2 years worth of work. And setting up any event of this size is a lot of work. Like I said, I've only done 50-person teas for my local comm just to celebrate how long we've been a community. So I have an inkling of where to begin with things like this. But it's a daunting task. And especially when you're working in all the logistics of arranging for international guests, things like that. So overall, I did have a good time because, you know, it's me. I will find a good time. If I can't have one, I will find one and I will make one. But holy fuck. If you tell me I'm paying $125 and sit me down to a mountain of egg salad fuck off sandwiches, like, I will fight. There will be a fight. Also, there just wasn't enough cucumber on the cucumber sandwich. That should have been cut it a little. Like, what? Are cucumbers expensive now? I thought those were still cheap, and it's just the eggs that are pricey as shit. I definitely didn't get $120 worth of fucking eggs, I can tell you that much. I am very tired, and I have been recording for almost 2 hours. Oh, Jesus. So, did you go to Great Lace? Have you heard of it before? Did you hear of it before this video? Did you want to go, but were you sort of daunted by the extreme price point, or, you know, was it just not in the cards? Did you sit at one of the mythical nut-free or gluten-free sections, and did you actually get anything to eat? Or were you also, fighting like dogs in the street? Like, that was bullshit, man. I don't care who you fucking are, even if you like egg salad. That was bullshit. The wet fucking sandwiches. Did you go? If you went, what did you think? Did you go for one day or both days? Did you go to the tea party? Did you get to go to any of the panels? What did you think of the fashion show? Did you buy anything cool? I bought some cool shit. I didn't buy a lot. I've been slowing down a lot, especially with the wedding and the way things are going. I've been trying to save money. So I don't know. It was a 6 out of 10. Yeah, I'll put that there, because seeing friends, meeting new friends, finally getting to spend some time with friends I haven't gotten to spend time with, seeing all the amazing coordinates, and just getting to take in the visual onslaught of 400 fucking frilly bitches in one space was just so good. So I will support Illinois in the future, but I really hope that they choose a different venue for the tea besides the fucking Palmer. Like, high tea at Portillo's. Let's fucking go. Let's just do it. Let's just be tourist trash and just do it. Like, private VIP dinner at Giordano's East, or is it Gio's East? Gino's East. Gino's. It's fine. Thank you for watching. This is going to be fun to edit. I can tell you that right now. Jesus fucking Christ. I'm going to wash my face and go lie down now and have some hot tea, of which I can have unlimited hot tea because I'm at my fucking house, Palmer. Thank you for watching. Have a good day. I'm losing my voice. I'm sorry. I know I'm sounding real hot now. I've got that vocal fry. Oh my god, I'm dying. Ugh. So ow. Oh, I just bit my fucking tongue. Are you goddamn fucking kidding me? That's probably wonderful. It's fine. Love that I'm, like, not even really wearing Lolita, but I'm doing a Lolita video anyway. So, was the great lace a great waist? Oh my... You can tell I'm way too proud of it, but... I'm so fucking clever. Jesus. Okay. It's picking up the carbonation of my Starry. Incredible. They used to do Midwest Mega Meets. Unfortunately, I was never able to attend. My fiance is about to take a bath, and I share a wall with that bathroom, so give me a second. Once he's in there, though, it'll be fine. The man works hard. He can take a fucking bath. It's a Sunday, it's fine.